She didn't shout. She didn't throw anything. She didn't even raise her voice. Jasmine Pineda walked into the reunion trailer calm, camera ready, and holding a printed list. According to insiders on set, she didn't ask for clarity. She tossed it directly in a producer's lap. Line by line, name by name, it was allegedly a breakdown of what each cast member was earning with her own salary circled in red like an insult. Then came the sentence that dropped jaws across the room. Match me to the top earner or I post these tonight. Phones were confiscated. Legal was contacted. Security waited by the hallway exit. And Jasmine slowly removed her mic, left it on a chair, and locked herself in her dressing room for nearly an hour. No shouting, no warning, just controlled chaos that forced an emergency meeting before the cameras even rolled. It wasn't the first time she disrupted set, but this was different. Jasmine wasn't having a meltdown. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't threatening to walk off. She was threatening to set the place on fire on her way out. And this time, allegedly, she had the receipts. Literally. I'm Iva and you're watching TLC Drama Files. If you haven't already, hit that button to subscribe because this is where we expose the mess they try to edit out. Drop your hottest Jasmine theories in the comments. I know you've got them. To understand how she got this kind of power, you have to rewind to her very first appearance. A pixelated long-distance intro on a split-screen episode that didn't even get promo priority. But the moment Jasmine opened her mouth, everything changed. The way she glared through the camera like it owed her answers. The jealousy. The accusations, the spiral. It wasn't polished. It wasn't sweet. It was raw, unpredictable, and completely unforgettable. Producers noticed fast. In the early episodes, she stole every scene. Nobody else mattered when Jasmine was on screen, even if she said almost nothing. A sigh. A side eye. A meltdown minutes after a love confession. And viewers, they were obsessed. She wasn't cute chaos. She was scorched earth and glam chaos. Viewers' screen recorded her reactions, turned breakdowns into punchlines, quoted her arguments like scripter. TLC had struck algorithm gold. And they knew it. Behind the scenes, they doubled her screen time by episode. Quietly, strategically, they started pushing her into more solo confessionals. Wanted her to explain her feelings more, cry more, react more, and the more she gave them, the more dependent they became. Jasmine wasn't background drama anymore. She was the arc, the heartbeat. And once she realized it, she stopped waiting for direction. She didn't just audition. She took over the script. And everyone else still thought they were in charge. By the start of her second full season, she reportedly began arriving late to call times. Yet, her makeup artist wasn't TLC approved, so she brought her own. Claimed she needed more time to emotionally prepare, then showed up late, only to snap into full monologue the moment the red light blinked on. At first, producers laughed it off. Dive A behavior maybe, but the metrics kept climbing, so they adjusted. They didn't see it yet, but Jasmine wasn't playing the game anymore. She was clocking the cameras, watching the edits, calculating what sold, and what gave her screen power. While the rest of the cast filmed scenes, Jasmine was building leverage scene by scene, clip by clip. She wasn't here to be part of the show. She was slowly, methodically taking over. And the moment they tried to rein her back, she made it clear they couldn't afford to lose her. Jasmine didn't need anyone to tell her she was the center of the season. By the time episode dropped, she had more screen time than half the cast combined and was pulling more reactions than the official TLC page. And she knew it. Fans weren't watching to see if she'd find lasting love. They were watching to see what emotional bomb she'd drop next and how quickly it would explode. Crying in full glam, jealous rants over nothing, texts, threats. Tears, peace, then back to chaos in under 5 minutes. People couldn't stop watching and Jasmine couldn't stop turning up the volume. That's when the shift happened. According to production insiders, she allegedly started asking for reshoots of crying scenes for real. One assistant claimed she once requested to try those same lines again, but with a better tear angle. Another said she told the producer she felt the scene didn't capture her proper emotional clarity. That's not diva behavior. That's someone editing the episode in their head while they're still shooting it. Her timing impeccable. She never missed a breakdown. But she allegedly missed her call times over and over. Makeup wasn't ready. Traffic, emotional distress, literally every excuse. At first, the team tried to adjust out of respect, out of pity, and definitely out of fear of missing the next viral moment because every time she appeared, the numbers spiked. And when she didn't, the audience asked for her by name. But behind the camera, things started cracking. One assistant claimed she stopped mic prep altogether unless she saw the schedule for the entire cast. Another said she refused to shoot unless Gino came out calibrated, whatever that meant. According to some reports, she'd walk off over lighting angles or scene partners she didn't approve. Not for safety, not for script, for narrative control. The girl stopped following storylines. She started rewriting them herself. And viewers, they never saw it. Because on screen, she was fully in control of her mess. Emotional, yes, but always charismatic. Even when you knew she was being absurd, you kind of understood why. That's how mistakes became memes and how her timeline became a war zone between what was shown and what she posted herself. The first time fans noticed the contradiction, it was subtle. One episode showed Jasmine having a massive fallout with Gino. Tears, heartbreak, emotional whiplash. But her Instagram story that same night, a quote about never giving up on someone you love, paired with a throwback couple pic, fans were confused. Some thought spoilers, others thought producers got it wrong. Jasmine didn't clarify. She posted 2 more love quotes the next day, then silence. From that moment on, it was like she ran 2 seasons at once. The one TLC edited and the one she smirked through online. And it worked. Every time the edits showed her angry, she posted something sweet. Every time they tried to soften her image, she'd drop a cryptic story that reopened every wound. She kept viewers guessing and producers losing sleep. She wasn't reacting to the show anymore. She was running it silently, strategically, from inside and out, right? And production had no plan for what to do when a cast member starts sabotaging the timeline while still filming inside it. By mid-season, crew members were allegedly documenting scenes Jasmine hadn't even posted about yet. Not for promotion, for legal. They needed a record of which storylines were aired versus what she was leaking. It had already turned into a control struggle. One crew member called it editing with a ghost in the room. Because once Jasmine realized fame wasn't about playing the part, but controlling the narrative, she went fully off script and never looked back. And what she did next pushed everyone into panic mode. Most reality stars crack under the spotlight. Jasmine, she turned it into a weapon. Once she figured out that pain played well on screen, but power played better off it. She shifted the entire game. Her emotions on the show became bait and her social media turned into the trap. TLC wanted drama. Jasmine gave them the chaos. But what no one expected was how calculated her chaos actually became. It was never random. Whenever the show aired something messy, she'd immediately post something calm, peaceful, like the version you saw on TV was simply a glitch. One week, she sobbed through an entire confrontation with Gino. Tears, accusations, emotional devastation. TLC teased it for days. 3 hours before that episode aired, Jasmine was already on stories, smiling in her mirror, posting a song lyric about growth and trust. Not love, not rage, trust. That wasn't luck, that was precision. She was rewriting the mood before the footage even hit the screen. Fans got whiplash. Reddit threads exploded. Was TLC playing her, or was she finally healed? No one could agree. Which was the point? Confusion feeds obsession. And Jasmine was the algorithm's favorite cocktail. Unpredictable, captivating, never consistent, and definitely never boring. This wasn't a meltdown. It was marketing. She didn't leak the edits. She blurred them until nobody could tell. Real from performative, raw from staged. And that's when she got dangerous. Her captions became puzzles. Passive-aggressive shoutouts. Quotes that sounded like side eyes disguised as empowerment. Sometimes silence is the loudest response. Dropped the same day. Her castmate's confessional aired, shading her. People hate when your piece costs their control. Posted right after. Her segment was mysteriously trimmed down. Coincidence? Nobody believed it. And she never named names. She didn't have to. Fans decoded everything like a true crime board. They filled in the blanks, dragged her enemies, and flooded timelines with their own edits. Jasmine was giving them nothing, and they were turning it into everything. Meanwhile, Gino, the man supposed to be her fiancé, visibly unraveled. What started as awkward silence became full-blown shutdowns. His facial expressions began slipping. He looked beaten down, not from a breakup, from the performance. A quiet man stuck inside someone else's strategy. Viewers noticed comments under TLC clips went from goofy to concerned. Why does Gino look like he's scared to speak? He flinched when she touched him. This feels off, but nothing stopped Jasmine. On screen, she was affectionate. Off screen, eerily vague. When fans tagged her in clips showing his discomfort, she'd heart random messages. Never confirm, never deny. Some say she thrived off the ambiguity. Others think she was trying to remind people who made the show worth watching. And production. They were drowning. Editors were allegedly told to speed cuts to match her tone, adjust music, trim long reactions, prep 2 versions of teasers, one in case Jasmine played nice, one in case she didn't. And because she could change the entire vibe of an episode with a second story, they were always behind. TLC was editing an episode. Jasmine was editing the audience. No one had seen anything like it. She was on screen playing one version of herself and online controlling a second. Contradicting, mocking, undermining. One insider allegedly joked, "We're not filming a reality show. We're chasing a perception." And the worst part, it worked. By the time a clip aired, Jasmine's version of events had already shaped the reaction. If TLC made her look soft, she'd post something savage. If they tried to show her breakdown, she dropped a flex pic with the caption, "Try harder." Producers couldn't catch up. They'd lost control, not of the footage, but of the story. Jasmine wasn't waiting to see how viewers reacted anymore. She was telling them how to feel before they ever pressed play. Behind every viral clip was a growing mess backstage. Because while fans were rewinding Jasmine's meltdowns, TLC was rewriting contracts and reeled time just to keep the cameras rolling. And the moment money got involved, Jasmine stopped playing entirely. It started with whispers that she wanted more, that she'd asked to see what other cast members were getting. But then came the bold move. Multiple insiders claimed Jasmine showed up to a closed-door production meeting with her own compensation chart. Line items, rumored bonuses, rough estimates allegedly pulled from a mix of leaked info and cast gossip. She pointed to her name, circled it in red and said, "Fix that." Fix what? The fact that she was pulling the highest engagement and allegedly sitting below 2 co-stars in pay. The fact that clips of her crying had already racked up millions on YouTube. She wasn't asking for clarity. She was demanding equity, or what she believed she was worth in click-throughs, shares, and stress. Producers stalled. Jasmine didn't. She stopped answering emails on shoot days unless someone guaranteed her a solo confessional. When reminded she'd signed a flat-rate appearance contract, she allegedly replied with something like, "That contract didn't include carrying the show." Meanwhile, Jasmine's Instagram was heating up with ads, teeth whiteners, gummies, discount codes with timers. None of it approved. Allegedly. None cleared by TLC, and definitely not part of any storyline. It wasn't subtle. Some of those brand launches dropped hours after high-drama episodes aired, piggybacking off the tension. She turned personal chaos into product placement. And while the rest of the cast played by the rules, Jasmine was cashing in on loopholes. The message was loud. She didn't need permission. Not from lawyers, not from editors. And the loopholes, they cost money. Real money. Every time she skipped shoots or ghosted call times, it wasn't just frustrating, it was expensive. Locations held, crews on standby, stylist waiting, and a production manager calculating how many hours of overtime could be justified before they called it a loss. One skip scene allegedly cost the team a flight. Rebooking for a full crew. Another delay happened during a group shoot when Jasmine showed up late, demanded iced coffee, didn't like her lashes, and then left mid-block over a non-approved wardrobe choice. They couldn't fire her. Not yet. She was too valuable on screen. But behind the scenes, the exit plan had already started. PR quietly began removing her from upcoming promo reels. Prepped press quotes were updated to exclude her name. Editors were pulled into meetings not for creative planning, but legal shielding. One segment producer allegedly said, "At this point, we edit for survival, not story." Half the team was allegedly documenting interactions by then. Screenshots of texts, notes on scene changes, day-by-day logs of missed shoots. HR wasn't leading meetups. Legal was. Jasmine hadn't broken the system. She had made herself immune to it. She made being unmanageable look like a business strategy. Armpits and the network was already bleeding. Her castmates noticed. Resentment trickled onto the screen. Two allegedly refused to sit next to her for finale interviews unless they had PR on standby. Another reportedly requested emotional wellness breaks after filming intimate scenes with her. And through it all, Jasmine kept smiling on social media, while those behind the edit desk were scrambling to figure out how to finish the season without completely losing their grip. And the question in every production meeting shifted. No longer how do we shape the story, but how do we legally survive it? Because Jasmine wasn't just burning bridges. She was threatening to invoice them for the match. The reunion set was already loaded with tension before Jasmine even walked in. Some crew members said it felt like a countdown to something nobody could name, but everyone expected. And when she entered late, silent, flawless, everyone held their breath. She didn't talk to anyone. Didn't give producers her usual warm-up smirk. Just took her seat next to Gino. Opened a plain folder and waited. Halfway through the taping, she dropped the first grenade. While the host asked a soft question about their engagement, Jasmine reached into that folder and dead silence slid a paper across the table to a senior producer. Witnesses say she didn't blink. Printed on that page was allegedly a list comparing cast payment rates. Her name at the bottom highlighted next to it in bold handwritten marker. Explain this. The room paused. One PA reportedly dropped their water bottle. Gino didn't move. Then Jasmine looked directly into the main camera and said, "You can edit that out. Either way, they're watching." That wasn't a threat. That was a guarantee. The room exploded behind the scenes. Mics were turned off. Cut was called. Jasmine didn't flinch. She stayed seated, waited for someone to say something, then calmly stood, took off her mic, placed it on the chair, and walked off without a single word. No meltdown, no screaming, just quiet destruction. She left her glam kit a half-full coffee, and her production team in full-blown panic mode. Legal was called again. Staff combed through her recent stories for clues. Inside her dressing room, she didn't respond to knocks. And when she finally emerged, she went straight past the cast, out the door, and vanished before the final group segment. She didn't show up the next day. PR reached out. She didn't reply. That was the moment they knew. She wasn't trying to leave the show. She was trying to break it. In the days that followed, editors were allegedly told to limit her screen time. Her name disappeared from future call sheets. Promo team pulled her IG tag placements. Officially, there was no scandal, but quietly a decision had been made at the network level. Jasmine had to be removed, and the erasure, it had already begun. TLC didn't fire Jasmine, not officially. Firing her would have triggered a spotlight, and Jasmine never stepped away quietly from any spotlight. So, internally, the decision was made. No press releases, no warnings, no drama, just air slowly removed from the room around her. The first order was editorial. Start cutting her down. Not visibly, not enough to spark fan backlash. Just seconds at first. Then entire segments. Then confessionals trimmed until what used to be a monologue became 3 neatly clipped sentences. Music softened under her voice. Reaction shots shortened. Group scenes where she was the center reframed to push her slightly to the side. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet, fading, subtle, efficient, surgical. Producers instructed editors to present alternate versions of key episodes, one with Jasmine as central, one with her reduced, so network brass could pick whichever narrative felt safer that week. Her spin-off project shelved without notice. It was mid-development, allegedly already in early concept packaging. Gone in a matter of days. Paper trails erased. Merch tied to her image was removed from the site with stock issues as the placeholder excuse. Any references to her upcoming appearances were quietly blown off like they'd never happened. But behind the scenes, cleanup mode was a full operation. Legal reportedly had already been building a timeline. Incidents, texts, emails, screenshots. Nothing to sue over. It wasn't about punishment. It was protection. They had to prepare in case Jasmine chose to go public and claim mistreatment. Every skipped shoot, every unapproved ad, every cryptic post was being cataloged. Now, not for producers, for lawyers. And then, as expected, Jasmine responded the only way Jasmine ever has, strategically. And loudest when she's dead silent. Within days of the reunion episode teaser dropping and guess whose face was noticeably absent, Jasmine wiped her grid. Every glamour selfie, every couple pic, every cast tag gone. Not archived. Removed strategically. Then a black screen story went up for hours. White text, nothing else. They cut me out, but forgot I kept everything. Not dramatic. Calculated. She didn't say TLC. She didn't say names, but everyone knew what she was doing and who she was warning. That blackout was timed with eerie precision. Right after the teaser launched, right before the full episode dropped, fans went berserk. Reddit lit up. TikTok exploded. Justice for Jasmine started trending within hours. And Jasmine, she didn't repost a thing. Not yet. Not directly. Because then came the leak. A document surfaced from an anonymous fan account. It looked basic at first, a long PDF full of screenshots, timelines, vague legal jargon worded like a letter. But within minutes, people began dissecting the tone. The phrasing matched Jasmine's style. Sections that referred to edited reality, my truth, and scripted situations misrepresented as authenticity read like someone trying very hard to pretend it wasn't personal, while making it deeply personal. No names were used, but blurred screenshots showed alleged contract disputes, vague references to conversations with unnamed producers, emotional labor complaints, and social media tracking logs. Whoever wrote it knew insider vocabulary enough to scare production, even if they couldn't trace where it came from. Jasmine didn't claim the leak. She just liked the post twice, and the comments did the math for her. Fans began reposting old scenes with their own edits. Some added her cut confessionals back into group clips. Others created alternative narrative versions of recent episodes, suggesting Jasmine had been deliberately sidelined to protect the franchise or to elevate lesser personalities at her expense. More stories came. Passive, haunting captions. You can't mute someone who gave you your highest ratings. They forgot who made the moments go viral. Again, no tags, no errors, but the message was clear. Enough people admitted they were watching just for her. And Jasmine was taking a victory lap inside the chaos. TLC was stuck. If they responded, they would validate her strategy. If they ignored her, she controlled the fan narrative. So they chose silence, quietly removed more marketing, halted the rearing of her most popular clips. Cast interviews were coached to redirect when she came up. Some refused to speak on it at all. One PR rep allegedly briefed a co-star hours before a podcast appearance, warning them to avoid reunion personnel drama. But the damage had already landed. And not just to Jasmine's brand, to theirs. Inside TLC, producers were now working with 2 editors per episode. One to cut new content, one to scrub old Jasmine material, not because they couldn't show her, but because any single frame could restart the drama. Her exit wasn't just a cast update. It was a legal risk. Viewers had stopped seeing her as a role. They saw her as a disruptor. And disruptors don't fade. They echo. By now, even her silence was being interpreted like a scene. People argued over her intent like it was part of the script. Influence at that level isn't accidental. That's strategy. And if anyone thought she was finished with her playbook, they hadn't been paying attention. The cameras had stopped rolling, but the damage didn't. It never does when someone walks away with the script and sets fire to the backup plan. On the way out, the day after Jasmine ghosted the reunion set, production hoped things would cool down. That silence would pass as resolution, but the longer they stayed quiet, the louder the consequences got. They didn't just lose a cast member. They inherited a full-blown liability with a dedicated fan base and an open mic off-screen. And the fallout, it didn't come in flames. It came in paperwork. Behind closed doors, at least 2 cast members allegedly refused future interviews. Unless PR was present. One reportedly hired an outside rep to vet their segment edits in advance. They didn't want to be dragged into the Jasmine discourse. Not again. A rumor spread internally that one cast member called her an editing hazard. Another allegedly ghosted their next TLC email altogether. For some, the damage wasn't about screen time. It was reputation control. Jasmine wasn't tagging anyone. But she didn't need to. Every caption, every blackout story, every like post sparked a chain reaction. TLC scrapped entire promo rounds. Cast members pulled out of joint appearances. Interviews focused more on what wasn't being said rather than what was. The question they all refused to answer hovered like smoke. Where was Jasmine? And what TLC did next confirmed everything she had implied. They started deleting her existence. No public announcement. No final scroll post. Just slow digital surgery. Group thumbnails quietly updated to crop her out. Cast. Tags removed from old story archives. Season highlight reels edited so her segments cut seconds sooner than everyone else's. It wasn't messy, but it was noticeable. Old video descriptions. Edited to remove her name. Instagram posts clarified as featuring select cast, instead of listing her directly. Even press kits were quietly reissued without her face. It wasn't about conflict. It was about containment. This wasn't a scandal cleanup. It was brand preservation disguised as normal rotation. And you know who noticed first? The fans. Some shrugged it off. But others, the ones who followed her like she was a hurricane dressed in heels, they saw right through it. They posted receipts, side-by-side comparisons of deleted assets, old screen caps, reactions threads. Why is TLC trying to erase the main event? One user asked. Another replied, they forgot who made us watch every week. But not every viewer was mourning her absence. A different crowd. They responded with anger, demanding clarity, demanding someone explain what happened behind that reunion door. Others begged for a TLC to admit something went wrong, that her behavior on screen and off crossed a line. That's where things got even messier. Because Gino, silent during the worst of it, suddenly disappeared too. He posted a single photo days later. A blurry hotel room wall and a random caption about time healing all things. Then nothing, no comments, no tags, nothing about the reunion, nothing. Directly referencing Jasmine, not even shade. And that silence louder than any meltdown. Fans started reverse engineering his posts, rewatching clips, quoting timestamps, trying desperately to piece together whether he was still under contract or just recovering. One source claimed TLC gave Gino the option to distance himself. That for his mental health, they wouldn't press him to appear through the final edit block. Whether that was true or not, his absence said what words couldn't. This wasn't performance fatigue. It was something heavier. All the while, TLC held steady. No public statement, no confirmation. Their strategy was simple. Starve the attention, wait it out. But Jasmine was still winning the quiet war because every time fans searched her name, old clips spiked in views. Her story metrics climbing. Even without posting anything new, her platform kept its reach. Algorithms favored her drama commentary. Channels reposted her final scene like it was historical footage. Every erased thumbnail became a viral side-by-side. Each cut frame turned into a fan investigation. By refusing to acknowledge her, TLC fed the mystery. And when a reality star becomes a myth, there's no putting that story back together on your own terms. She didn't need to return to the show because now the story was about why she was gone. More importantly, what they never let viewers see. And in that silence, she built something no editor could splice her out of. Legacy, chaos, impact. Whatever you want to call it. Jasmine had created an echo. And that echo was still paying dividends. But the long tail damage crept deeper. Internally, producers were allegedly instructed to flag any future cast profiles that showed emotional boundary pushing or complex control patterns. Not for drama. Potential, for risk assessment. Jasmine had reset the bar for what reality TV unpredictability looked like when weaponized. And now everyone else had to pretend they didn't see it happen. While other breakouts negotiated new seasons, Jasmine's name was rumored to be blacklisted from pitch meetings. If mentioned, it was allegedly met with phrases like too risky, already archived, or don't invite that heat. Still, the fan base didn't care. Half begged for her spin-off, even if DIY on YouTube. Others wanted a tell-all, and every new cryptic emoji she posted only fanned the flames. They hadn't seen the last of her. And TLC, they were still scrubbing, not because they were petty, because they knew When someone plays the system better than the people who built it, it's not a show anymore. It's a warning. And Jasmine's final scene wasn't an ending. It was a setup. Jasmine might be gone from your screen, but she never really left the conversation. Months after her final tape scene, her presence still lingers. In every edit, every line, producers now second guesses, every contract rewarded to avoid the next version of her. She wrecked a production schedule, burned through crew morale, and allegedly pushed legal into overdrive. And somehow she walked out without ever raising her voice. That wasn't an exit. That was a checkmate. The screen went dark, but her story lived on, and she knew it would because she didn't have to be on TV to stay relevant. She had something more dangerous. Traction. Attention currency. Every delayed scene, every cryptic caption, every perfectly timed story turned into raw clicks. And the brands, they followed it. She ran side deals with skincare companies, sold detox teas off edited hysteria, got paid to glow up while downplaying emotional chaos on screen. TLC was still arguing over contract clauses. Jasmine was already sending PayPal invoices. And when fans asked if she was coming back, she didn't answer. She liked the question instead. That's control. That's power. It didn't matter that she was cut off mid-season, that they muted her in group shots, that no one used her name after the reunion. She wasn't playing for continuity. She was playing for permanence. And in reality TV, where faces swap out by the week, Jasmine forced hers into lasting memory even if the platform tried to erase it. That's not fame. That's influence. And the dirty secret, viewers helped her build it. Every outraged comment, every shady recap, every praise tweet defending how raw she was, even when she clearly staged moments, it all counted. Every reaction became part of the algorithm. And the algorithm doesn't care how you feel. It only cares that you cared. So, while editing rooms collapsed and producers scrambled to dodge her wake, Jasmine had gamed the system beautifully. Her screen exit was just another upload cycle, and fans fueled it without even realizing. But there's a bigger cost that no one really talks about. The toll this took on the crew. The emotional damage of filming talent who doesn't just bring drama but engineers it. One source called the environment intentionally unstable. Another described working with Jasmine as editing a storm with no weather forecast. Production had to start rotating teams to avoid burnout. Emotional safety check-ins became more frequent than script revisions. And for Gino, his silence says more than any scene could. A man who once seemed passive on camera ended his arc looking completely hollow. Eyes dulled, words few. Whether you believe he was manipulated or complicit doesn't change what we watched. Someone slowly unraveling under pressure so strategic. It left no proof. This wasn't isolated damage. This was systemic fallout, and the industry felt it. One reality star pulling that level of control forces everyone to look twice at their structure, at their liability sheets, at their grip on narrative power. Contracts are evolving. Platforms are nervous. Every new cast member now quietly benchmarked against one name behind the scenes. Jasmine? Was she their biggest star or their biggest mistake? Or are those two things now permanently the same? Because here's the question no producer wants to ask. What happens when the audience knows the star is manipulating the narrative, knows it isn't authentic, and still watches? Still laughs, still sympathizes, still demands more. What do you do when the manipulation becomes part of the show? Every time a star pretends to cry, we meme it. Every time an arc feels off, we find proof in Instagram captions. Reality fandom isn't passive anymore. It's forensic. And Jasmine weaponized that before anyone else even realized it could be done. She didn't have to break the fourth wall. She used it as a mirror. So maybe she didn't lose at all. Maybe this wasn't self-destruction. Maybe it was evolution. And if you're still torn on whether Jasmine was the ultimate villain or the smartest player reality TV's ever seen, well, maybe that's exactly what she wanted. Because while TLC learned how expensive that kind of casting can be, Jasmine made sure of one thing. If you're going to delete her from the timeline, you better be ready to answer for the crater. And if you think her exit was wild, wait until you hear what cast member is already pushing TLC back into meltdown mode. And this time, they're not even waiting for reunion season. Next episode, someone else just pulled a Jasmine, but powder.